Welcome back, everybody. Today I've got something rather special to show all of you. Recently I came across a new element game that is currently in development called SpellBound Ascension that I have the privilege of being a tester for and have given the green light to show all of you a preview of. The game is being developed by Syntac, who you may know as the guy who runs people's pockets with Hades and Egg every now and then, as well as the Soup and the Grand Wiz, and they have just 4 days ago dropped the 1.3.0 development update for this game, which has just been beyond impressive. It is important to note that everything you see in this video is subject to change as the development process goes on, and that nothing here is completely representative of the final product. Starting with the elements and their rarities, there are currently 20 elements planned for release, belonging to 7 rarities, which are common, uncommon, rare, fabled, legendary, mythical, and forbidden. All of these elements, except for forbidden elements, which we will go over later, are obtained from the spinner at the following rates: commons with a 50% chance, uncommons with a 30% chance, rares are 7.5%, fabled 2.5%, legendary 0.5%, and mythical 0.1%. It is important to note that while higher rarities will be stronger and more complex than commons, the end goal for balancing is that every element in the game is viable for PvP and PvE, not just the ones of the highest couple rarities. Every single element also has a passive ability of some sort, which could be anything from small damage reduction boosts to speed or jump height, or even cooldown alterations. The elements currently planned for release are, for commons, fire, water, air, frost, and earth. On commons, we have light, dark, and nova. For rares, we have toxin, magma, and blood. For fabled elements, we have midnight and solar. For legendary elements, we have shadow wyvern, frost wyvern, and hyperspeed. For mythical elements, we have abyssal and devastation. And for forbidden elements, we have chronos and erebus. We'll now go through showcases of 11 of the 12 currently finished elements. We're leaving Chronos for later because I'll explain that alongside how forbidden/cursed elements work in order from lowest rarity to highest. Fire is an element primarily focused on burns. Its first move is just a fireball that shoots at the cursor, fairly self-explanatory. Second move grants a shield that gives you 12,000 HP, which is equal to 25% of your max health. Your third move has a flame wave outward that does a lot of damage but has a very short range. Your fourth move calls down a fire pillar at the cursor that will leave a lingering effect that deals damage over time. And then you have your firestorm ability, which at the cost of some of your health will deal significant damage to anything around you. Water has its first move very similar to fire. It just has a little ball that shoots and does a little AoE. The second move is just 5 of those. They both do relatively low damage. Your third move conjures this whirlpool at the cursor that will deal very, very heavy damage to anything caught in it. And this move has 2 charges before going on cooldown. Your fourth move is this little whirlpool, and it actually pulls targets to the middle after a little bit of a second. I think this delay is getting reduced. Then the last move is a tsunami. Fairly self-explanatory here. For frost, how frost works is every single move inflicts frost stacks, and the more frost stacks the enemy has, the more damage you do to them. So the more hits you take from a frost, the more damage you're going to take. Our first and second move are pretty easy, just blasts. Our third move is a trap, actually, that the person has to walk into. It just exploded here because it was already on the person. Your fourth move is a little ball that will stop when it hits a person and continue to hit them over and over again. And our fifth move is an AoE that's on cursor that deals damage just as it sits there. For wind, we have just a simple bolt move for the first one again. For our second move, anything in that area gets stunned for 2 seconds. For our third move, we have a little leap into the air, which if you jump at the right time, it goes way higher. And for our fourth move, we have a user-centered tornado, pretty heavy damage AoE. For our earth, we have our first move is an on-cursor AoE, which does decent damage. Our second move throws a rock at the target. After a short delay, does a fairly good amount of damage. Our third move is a short-range teleport to the cursor. And our fourth move is just a user-centered AoE. An Earthquake. Does a lot of damage. For light, our first move is a on-cursor AoE that actually blinds any enemy caught in it. We have a form with this one though as well, where you go faster and jump higher. Our third move, which is our next damaging move, is a user-centered blind for 1 second. This reaches into the air as well to hit air campers. And then we have our light barrage, which does, well, does what it looks like it does. Dark is more or less the exact same as light, it just has more damage per move and longer cooldowns. You'll notice here. Essentially, in addition to this, any enemy that is blinded takes 5% more damage from your attacks, so it's more incentive to keep them blinded. First move Nova is the Nova Beam, pretty self-explanatory, fires a beam at the cursor. The AoE just does damage around it. Our second move is a short-range teleport to the cursor. This one can be pointed up, unlike Earth's though. Our third move just is a on-cursor explosion. Does pretty good damage. And then our fourth move is a very delayed, very high giant beam, which does significant damage. Additionally, with Nova, if you use your teleport upward, double jump, and use the beam, you can air camp, which is pretty funny. All of Blood moves cost HP, including the form, as you'll notice here. Our first move costs HP to just shoot a bolt at the cursor. Second move does the exact same thing with multiple. Our third move damages the target at the cursor and heals you for 12,000 HP, roughly 25% of your HP. Your fourth move is the form. Don't worry too much about that. And then our fifth move sacrifices a bunch of your health to do a big explosion that does damage and lifesteal. Our Q ability are these little blood sentries that shoot at stuff, and you get 2,000 health per hit that they hit. They're actually impossible to dodge if you're close enough to them, so pretty good all things considered. Lava has our first move, these 3 magma pillars that will be evenly spaced from your character to the cursor with a max range of about 500 studs. They do these lingering AoEs as well, so they will still do damage there. Our second move is a shield that gives you 50% damage reduction and slows you for 3 seconds. Our third move is these little lingering AoEs that are around your cursor. They will do damage to any target that's standing in them and burn them. Our fourth move is our little flame barrage, which does exactly what it looks like it does, shoots flame balls and burns stuff. And our form here is temporary. For 15 seconds you have much faster movement speed, higher jump height, and all of your cooldowns are reduced significantly. You can just see, you can just spam stuff with this. And you also have 25% damage reduction while you are using this form. It is crazy. Of course, it has a very long cooldown after you're done, but there you go. Toxin's first move, well, the form is on the third, which just does damage to anything around it. Your first move is just a little bop at the cursor. Second move is a bigger bop at the cursor with 5 distinct little bloops of poison. Our fourth move, how it works, if a target is poisoned, it does 4,000 damage to them. So it's basically, if they're poisoned, it does more damage. I showed that here with the fifth move, which is another user-centered giant blip. And you can see this does damage very, very fast. Forbidden elements, or as they are more commonly referred to, at least by me, as curses, are at the top of the rarity totem pole and are designed in a unique way. Forbidden elements are extremely powerful, but have built-in negatives as a double-edged sword. They are obtained not through the spinner, but by claiming a forbidden core, which you have to hold E on for 10 seconds to obtain the respective forbidden element. Every 2 hours, there is a 1 in 15 chance for a forbidden element to spawn. If it does spawn, the respective cursed core will fall from the sky as you can see now, and will disappear as soon as someone claims it. In short, you're going to be fighting the entire server to get these elements. They're going to be very, very coveted and rare. Chronos is currently the only curse available in the game. Its E ability, its first move, you place a point at the cursor and you revert to it whenever you press it again, and it restores the health that you had at the time you used the move. Our first ability, our 1, is a dash. It has to be horizontal, it cannot go up or down, and it leaves this damaging area in its wake. Our second move is a 3-second stun on the cursor after a very short delay. This just prevents people from moving. And then once it's done, it leaves this sort of lingering damaging spot. Our third move is our first time beam move. After a pretty sizable delay, it will shoot a high damaging beam down, and this beam also leaves the same lingering AoE the rest of the element does. Next we have our time trap, which is just a placeable trap, and if somebody gets close to it, it stuns them inside for 4 seconds. Now we have our form change. Now, using this gives you invincibility frames in the entire animation and completely revamps your first, second, and third move. Additionally, I should probably elaborate on the passive of this element. Every 30 seconds, there is a roll of the dice that happens. Your cooldowns will either be 20% shorter, the same, or 50% longer. Our one move, while the form is active, does these saw blades towards the cursor, leaves the same AoE. Our 2 is the beam. It's less delayed this time, still leaves that AoE. You'll notice everything doing a bunch more damage while in here. We have our time blades towards the cursor for our 3, and for our 4, this is considered the ultimate. It calls this giant beam after a short delay that pulls targets to the center. Our last move, our Q ability, allows you to have invincibility frames and be invisible for 6 seconds. Just, there you go. You can see the visual indicator of where you are, and whenever it ends, there you go.